Spurs of America, with your hosts, Michael and Jacob.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in to another edition of the United Spurs of America podcast with your hosts, as always, Michael and Jacob, hosted live on our very own YouTube channel. Once again, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you may be listening to. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon over here in the United States of America. Jacob, how are we doing, my friend? We got a few special guests today. We're covering the Champions League. We're previewing the Premier League. We beat Frankfurt at home. We're going to beat Everton later on Saturday. How are we doing, my friend? How are we doing?
I'm good as gravy, my friend. I'm happy to be here. Happy for who's here in the house. Like Michael said, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm feeling great, Michael. Honestly, anytime I see your beautiful face on the other side of that screen I'm looking at, it's a good time for me. So I know we got you in the house. I did a little pop-up last night. It was fun. It was some good times. It was a little chill. But nothing like being on a Friday show with my buddy Michael.
Hell yeah. And we have some very special guests, which Jacob will get into in a little bit. But first off, as always, we have to give a shout out to our loyal Patreon members. If you want to become a supporter, patreon.com/United Spurs of America. We want to give a shout out to our Soggy Undies Club, Mr. Allen, 10-inch himself, Sibley, and Reyes Jr., the 10-inch Club Faraz, Goguma, Queen Ellie, Tottenham Till I Die,
That's
and
like this.
C. Shearman. Our official supporters club, Scott M, J. Co, and David. And then, as always, our Lovers Lane club with Bobby K, Gina, Kim, and C Cubed.
New name, Gina Kim. Actually, I forgot. James Joris also signed up last night, and I didn't add him. That's my fault, James Joris. So if you, wherever you're at, James Joris, I'm adding you right now, my friend. Apologies. Big ups to all those people. They showing love, supporting this channel.
We got the chat going already. Mr. Allen himself, 10-inch
yes, sir.
in the house. What's going on, man? How's it going, Chris? He says, big up the lads. Hope you are keeping well. Yes, we are. Jacob, how are you keeping up? Are you keeping up well?
All the way up, my friend. Chris, I hope you are as well. I hope life is treating you fantastic. Glad that you're here, my friend.
Riemann Son, Heung, Heung Dad, Heung Son. We'll get into him in a little bit. Good Vibes FC, how's it going, man? How's it going? Full Bull, Mikey Mike, and Jacob. How are you doing, my friend? How are you
sir.
Doing? Josh in the house. Haven't seen him in a while. Josh, how are you doing, my friend?
How we doing, Josh?
You're doing well across the pond. Hope you are doing well. Riemann Son says small fishes Everton. Yes, they are. We're about to clap them this weekend, my friend. Great to see you all, TGIF. Yes, TGIF. Jacob, got some very special guests with us today.
Yes, we do.
And we do have a third week in a row cherry popping ceremony.
I'm just gonna put that one out there. Wait, is it a double pop? I love it.
On the YouTube channel, yes. On a show before of some sort like that we're affiliated with, no, but yeah, on our channel, yeah. So two cherries to be popped today. Who are they, my friend?
We got the one and only Resonator from
going Rez.
Shelf Spurs Show. How you doing, my friend?
Say that 5 times fast.
It hurts so good. It hurts so good. How you doing, guys?
Fantastic. Great to see you, my friend. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Great show yesterday. I always enjoy me some Shelf Spurs Show.
Sure. Yeah, that's
Shelf It's really hard for me to say.
You just put as many S's as you can in there, and you're in the ballpark.
I love it, Rez. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're doing well. We've got as well. I hope you're ready, my friend. This is a first cherry pop. I cherry popped last night, or actually yesterday on his channel myself. Alan Clarke from Time Added On. How are you doing, my friend? Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
But thanks for having me. It wasn't your first time last night. You've done one a month ago, but I'm glad that you invited me on.
Wow.
That's my bad.
Popping ceremony underwent last night. False alarm. Jesus, Jacob, come on, man.
I really appreciate it.
It was so great. It was like the first time, Alan.
It's like
so
the first time.
It.
Yeah. Every day's a new day, right? Every day's day one.
Big ups both of you. Glad that you're here. Big ups to chat. Glad that y'all are here. Make sure to hit that like, hit that sub on the road to 500. We trying to get there. Big ups to everyone who's helped us get this far along the way.
For sure. Boys, gentlemen, lads. Tottenham 3, Frankfurt 2 in the Champions League under the lights at White Hart Lane once again. A great performance in the first half and a very nervy ending to finish the game. Jacob, I wanted to get your overall thoughts first because the one, the only, Heung, Hyunmin dad, Hyunmin son, scores a brace. Our dad, the king of North London himself, scores a pen as well to make it 3.
Papi chulo.
Just good vibes all around. But first off, Sonny is back in the Champions League. He has officially announced himself back in the Champions League. And what a great second goal as well. Absolute rocket.
How else do you want to tie Ronaldinho in UCL goals other than a volley off the left foot, perfectly timed? Doesn't matter if the goalie, if that hit him in the head, he was getting taken into the goal with that shot. So much power from the third leg, if I might add, because it just adds such torque and velocity on his shots that it's a welcoming sight. We all knew in the poll last night. I'm going to do a poll while we're talking to our distinguished guests, but in the poll last night that I did on the pop-up, Michael in second place came OWAW when describing Sonny. And if you know, you know. That means once wet, always wet. Sonny, always wet. Doesn't matter if you think he dried up. Don't matter if you see a little, when the sun's shining and here in El Paso, I don't know about how it is in the UK. When it gets real hot out here in the desert and you look and the ground's kind of doing this, there's like heat waves coming off the road. It's like that when Sonny come to town. I'm just emitting
for those of you
heat waves
who are not familiar with the once wet, always wet mantra. It's like saying form is temporary, but class, world class, more specifically when talking about Heung-min Son, is permanent. Rez, another win in the Champions League, another step forward in hopefully securing the group overall, but more importantly, qualifying for the round of 16. Getting your overall thoughts first, my friend, before we go into anything specific. How pleased were you with the performance? What were your overall thoughts?
Yeah, it wasn't a 3-2 game. In my view, it didn't seem like a 3-2 game. It was a game in which we had shown more control and more sort of comfort than we'd shown pretty much all season. Even that 4-1 against Southampton right at the beginning of the season, we didn't look as if we were fully in control. We haven't really had that at all, except maybe against Fulham. And so it was, if someone just looks at the score and says 3-2, oh, it must have been a really, really close game. It really wasn't. Frankfurt were pretty awful for most of the game. It was only at the end where they got that goal and were down to 10 men, and they suddenly decided that they were just going to throw everything at us, that it was sort of any different other than pretty much Spurs dominance from about the 10th minute onwards. It just didn't seem like a 3-2 game. It was good. There were positives on the pitch. There are still negatives on the pitch as well. But overall, I was pleased. I sat there, I watched it. At no point did I sort of feel uncomfortable, apart from those bits where it was sort of like we're through on goal and you sort of like tense up, and then it didn't come. And watching Kane sky a penalty was a bit of a shock, but other than that, it was quite pleasing.
Don't remind me. Alan, want to kick it over to you, my friend. This is officially your cherry popping ceremony. We're gonna bring you in. We're gonna get your overall thoughts on Frankfurt. Were you satisfied with the performance, and how nervous were you at the end?
I was satisfied for the most part of it. Like it resonated, as I said, we controlled most of that game. The ending was just shocking for a Conte team to, although we were a man up, but to switch off like they did and stuff like that is a bit alarming. I don't think that will happen again. Good to see Son back. Looks like he's finally back in form, scoring goals, looking like his old self. Special shout out to Bentoncourt. I was there at the game, and the way he controlled the midfield for me, I've always said that he's a decent player, but seeing him in the flesh and seeing what he can do and the way he controls, gets forward, presses and the fight, for me, he's much better than I ever gave him credit for. So, for me, I give that credit. It's the best we've played since Leicester. It was goals in the Champions League, which we haven't seen in the last 2 games, which is positive. Hopefully we can break the Conte curse and get out of the group stage. But overall, it was a decent performance. Shame about the ending.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like you and Rez said, Alan, there were definitely a lot of positives to take away from the match. Certainly some negatives as well, like Rez mentioned also. But let's get into the 11 first. Hugo in net, Romero, Dyer, and Longley rounding out the threesome in the back. Emerson and Sessegnon come into the frame at right and left wing back respectively. We changed back to the 3-4-3 formation in this Champions League fixture with Bentancur and Hojbjerg in the middle once again, with Richarlison, Kane, and Son leading the line with Kulusevski out injured. We'll get into Kulusevski a little bit later. I really am just heartbroken, honestly, boys, at the news that came out this morning. We'll get into him a little bit later. But looking at this 11, Jacob, I wanted to get your thoughts, man. I know you prefer the 3-5-2, as a lot of fans as well. How skeptical were you going into this game, just seeing that 3-4-3 once again, and also, Emerson coming back into the 11? We know he's suspended in the Premier League, but it looks like Conte is still sticking with him when he is available.
For me, seeing the 11, I wasn't skeptical necessarily what I thought would happen. I was just more like, dang, that I was hoping Basuma would get to start. Maybe we would see Perisic on the right instead. But it makes sense that Emerson is getting the minutes because he's not going to get them this weekend or on Wednesday. And those are going to be two big matches, so kind of glad we're not going to be seeing any Emerson. So I think it was a little fortunate. We'll be playing United while Emerson can't play because I feel like he might do what players like to do. For instance, Frankfurt, they loved grabbing our daddy. They loved holding him. There should have been 3 different players with double yellows just because of molestation. I'll say it. But to me, it was like, I understand, because if it's me and I'm playing for Frankfurt and I see Heung and daddy, I'm going to give him a hug. And it makes sense. So I feel like Emerson might be the kind of guy to do that to like a Ronaldo. He'd be like, oh, Ronaldo's here, let me give him a hug. And I just don't trust him. I'm not saying that Perisic is the end-all be-all for the right side, or that there might not be something better laying in wait, if you will. But at this current moment, when I see that 11, it's just the typical Conte 11 at this point. It's just something I'm used to, except for Richarlison in there for Kulusevski, which I think I said this on Alan's show yesterday, that I'm a little concerned because when our players seem to go to that physio room, they just don't come back. I mean, how long until we saw Oliver Skip? Thankful that we saw a little bit of him. It's good for him to get some minutes. He needs to work himself back in. He'll be a formidable threat there in the middle to at least compete for jobs. Keep Bentancur and Hojbjerg on their toes. I think that'll be huge. Just kind of like what Basuma's doing, or give us options when we run that 3-5-2. So to me, the 11, typical Conte 11, kind of what I figured, just not what I'd hoped for.
Oh, for sure. What about you, Alan? Looking at this 11, what were there any concerns with, I guess, like players like Emerson or anyone else when you look at this, rather than the options that were on the bench, or were you overall satisfied with what Conte put out there?
I mean, I'm not satisfied with what Conte put out there purely for the fact is I'm not a Royal fan.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, he's a football player and everything like that, and he's at our club and all that, but he's not good enough for this team. I'm not even a Matt Doherty fan, but he played better in one game than Royals most of the season. He's a liability. For me, it looks like he's just won a competition on the back of a cornflakes packet or like a cereal box packet to be there. He doesn't seem like he wants to. For me, he's not good enough. I'd love to see Spence play, but that's going to get into a topic probably another time.
Collect 10 tokens and play right wing back for Spurs.
That's what it looks like to me sometimes. I think we all like 3-5-2. I think 3-4-3 works with Kulusevski. When Kulusevski's up there, it has to be a 3-5-2 because Richarlison gets put on the right and he's better on the left. So for me, it makes us still a bit. I don't think that front three works as well as obviously the other front three. Apart from that, I'm pretty much sure that the rest of the team was as was meant to be, what Spurs fans were expecting. Maybe people would have had Perisic on instead of Sessegnon, but pretty much the team we've come to know under Conte and the way he wants to play. I hope that we do adapt to a 3-5-2, because when we used the 3-5-2, especially against Leicester, we controlled the game a lot more and we looked so lethal going forward. And then that puts Zeski at risk. I think maybe try and get him to do a right wing back. He's played sort of there before, helping Emerson Royale against Man City last season, and still scored and create assists, so he can do it. I would go for that if and get rid of both Royale and obviously, but that's just me. I try not to have agendas, but I think it comes through sometimes that I don't like certain players.
Physio room is the Bermuda Triangle. Big facts. Big
up Jaco, official patron member.
That's
big
funny.
Supporter.
Rez, what about you, man? What were your overall thoughts on the 11? I know you've said before that you haven't been impressed with Emerson Royale, but were there any other concerns for you when Conte put out that team sheet?
Not really. I think the whole 3-4-3-3-5-2 debate stems from what Conte wants his players to do as a default. I think he'll play a 3-5-2 if it's really needed, but I think he wants his players to play 3-4-3 and to learn that system almost so they can do it in their sleep. And what we saw on Wednesday was the biggest criticism of a 3-4-3 is that the middle two find it difficult to control that midfield, which is valid, or has been valid certainly. What we saw on Wednesday was those two utterly bossing the midfield and doing the job of three men. That's not me saying that they are capable of doing it against better opposition, because we have to be honest. Frankfurt are not top opposition. They're lying 8th in the Bundesliga right now. Yes, they did win the Europa League, but they are a step below. And that's
they won Europa, then lost their two best players, right? Isn't that what happened?
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and there's a reason why they're bottom of our Champions League group. Excuse me. So I think the reason that we see the 3-4-3 is because that's the way he wants to play. Whether or not we have the personnel at this moment in time to make it effective, we certainly don't have them on the wings. That I was certainly on the right wing. Everyone knows how much I do not rate Emerson Royale as a footballer, not just as a right wing back. I mean, passing, tackling, running, shooting, crossing, throw-ins, positioning. I've not seen enough to suggest that he's even got any real ability as a footballer, even after spending £1 million on extra training. I wasn't surprised with Conte playing 3-4-3, because we've also got to bear in mind he's only been here a year, and we've got, we're changing from a very different system to what he wants to play, and we've had a very short pre-season. A mess of a squad that is still being sorted out. All of these things will take time. So I think he doesn't want to burden his players or his squad with different systems too much. And so that's for that reason, I think he will stick with the 3-4-3 more often than not, even though we might think that a 3-5-2 would be more effective in an individual game. I think it will probably be more effective long term. And so it suggests he's playing that to make sure that his players are up to speed with the way he wants them to play. So no, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah, no, I think for me also, I wasn't too surprised either, especially since we played the 3-5-2 last game. I think that obviously we were expecting some sort of rotation, and I think especially with Emerson coming into the frame, just a player like that on the right, I think Conte was more reliant on going on a 3-4-3 rather than a 3-5-2 with Emerson. For me, it's all about the wings with the wing backs. Sessegnon, not impressive for me. Emerson, really, really dreadful in my opinion as well. Neither of them really had that final ball that you really need from a system that is heavily reliant on wing backs. Even Sessegnon, he got into some good positioning early on in the first half as well, but ultimately the final ball wasn't there, or that final touch, that final pass, it just wasn't there. The one clip that I wanted to talk about when talking about Emerson is the one that's going around on Twitter where Kane beats his man on the left-hand side of the pitch and is running
nicely
on the sideline.
Oh, so
he looks beautiful, looks fit. And
Fast,
switches
quicker.
play to the right-hand side to Emerson, who then bobbles and loses track of the ball, goes behind him, and then proceeds to turn the ball over on his first pass into the middle. It's plays like that where you just kind of shake your head and it's like, well, what are you expecting? We already know the expectation when either of those players are in the frame, more specifically Emerson. It's really frustrating, especially with the performance that the midfield gave. You had already mentioned it, Rez, that one of our weaknesses and one of our Achilles heels was our midfield play. It just wasn't up to the standard, or they hadn't played as well as we had seen them play to end the season last year. Early on in this season, they've been overwhelmed a lot, especially when teams overload in the midfield area. For me, I agree, Rez. This was one of their best, if not the best performance so far in the midfield alone. That was probably the best performance I've seen so far this season from that midfield too. Hotspur was so creative. We haven't seen that creative side of Hotspur in such a long time, or at least in a consistent capacity. At least he was so great in that middle of the pitch. Alan, you already mentioned it. Bentancur was absolutely phenomenal. He really took control. He was kind of like that. You look at Hotspur more as like that midfield general. It kind of felt like that role kind of switched to Bentancur against Frankfurt, just because of how well he was controlled, how well he was composed in the middle of the pitch. And then Hotspur was able to get a little bit more forward. He was able to be a little bit more creative. I wanted to go over the midfield first before we get into Sonny. I'm sorry, Jacob. I want to apologize, but this for me was one of the most, besides Sonny's performance, was one of the most impressive parts of this game, in my opinion, especially in that first half, the way we dominated and came back from going down initially. Jacob, I wanted to start it off with you. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I know you want to get into Heung-min Son. We get into
save
it.
We can say, yeah. Sometimes you want to save the best for a little bit later.
You want to savor it, right? You want to savor it for a little bit. It's on the tip of your tongue, but it's like, you know what? I'm going to have a little taste, at the beginning, but I'm going to save the rest for later.
Sometimes when it comes to Sonny, though, he's
as you mature, you'll realize that a lot of the time the anticipation is better than the act.
Yeah.
So say
exactly.
But see, I was gonna say that Sonny for me is like just sweet chocolate. Just can't get enough. I'll eat it till the bag runs out. And then my wife's like, I bought that yesterday, and I'm like, sorry, baby, Heung-min daddy did. I don't know. It's just it's the way it goes with this man. But I have no problem on stream waiting to savor my Reese Pieces. So wait, what was the question? You had me talking about Sonny, bro. I forgot the question. Bro, when we talk about Sonny,
my question was the midfield. I was apologizing for Sonny, but I wanted to ask you your overall thoughts on the midfield, because for me, outside of Sonny's performance, which ended up being the man of the match officially by UEFA, for me, the other most important performance was of that midfield duo of Rodrigo Bentancur and Pierre-Emile Hotspur. But I wanted to get your thoughts, man, because I know that you've been a big supporter of Hotspur's kind of, not resurgence, but he's just been playing that much better than we had been used to, especially when we first signed him under Mourinho. He's really just kind of growing and developing as we go along, like month to month, week over week. We see him improving in certain parts of his game, but how impressive were they for you, him and Bentancur?
I'll start with Hotspur, because first thing I want to say is I'll get the nasties out of the way. When it comes to like your salad on a plate or like your broccoli on dinner, I'm gonna eat that little nasty bitch first.
I love the metaphors that are going on and the analogies that we have going on in the show. I love it.
Yeah, I guess I'm hungry for lunch or something. But Hotspur, there was a pass that I think he was trying to change play and send it left, and he sent it to the ball boy at the halfway mark, and I was just kind of like, bro, what are you doing? Big up 10-inch. At least he's not mentioned, you know who. I'm trying to not think about it, because then we'll get really derailed. But I really feel like Hotspur has been our best midfielder since he's joined the team. And every month, like you said, he's just a little bit, he does his job just a little bit better. I think where he struggled a little bit for me was just in his progressive passing, but that slowly, like you said, it's gotten better and better. Now we're seeing through balls over the top. The assist to Sonny, I mean, That was literally him just cleaning up like the janitor, like the garbage man we know he is, cleaning up Emerson's dirty shit trash on the right, picked it up, took it to the byline, plopped it over to Sonny. Just, here you go, son, do something with that. And you know what he did? UEFA goal of the week. I think he also won that as official. Shout out Cubes. Cubes, I think, sent that to me, so shout her out.
They tweeted it out on their official page.
I mean, come on, that's a beautiful. It was a beautiful goal.
It was a phenomenal goal.
Wow.
It was an absolutely phenomenal goal.
Technical ability, the the BDE,
Absolutely.
Put a little English on it.
You cannot fault it. You cannot fault it. It was as I said last night. It was the son that we have come to expect. You know, hungry, playing with verve, almost with venom. You know, when he gets going, when he's playing at the top of his ability, or you know where he has been playing consistently for a couple of years now, he's unplayable, right? It really all crystallized for me with that Burnley goal, that Puskás goal, the one that he won the Puskás Award for.
Oh yeah, that was a beautiful. Oh
that
yeah,
is stunning. That epitomizes Heung-min Son, and he plays like that when he's playing well. When he doesn't play well, he doesn't play like that. He plays like the Heung-min Son that we had in his very first season with us, where he was inconsistent, where he didn't know, you know, he was on the verge of leaving. He was going to say to Poch, "I want to go." You know, he is a world-class player when he's playing well. You know.
Well, Rez, I do want to pull the reins on you and say, I think that was my fault. I always digress to Sonny. During transfer window, there's a certain somebody, a certain special someone that I always gravitate towards during transfer. It's just a fun time. But I think it was because I said Højbjerg with the beautiful cross of Sonny, and then I started talking about Sonny winning the goal. That's all my fault. I'm spoiling the show because that's for later. Well. So, Michael, I apologize. Yeah, we're talking about Højbjerg and Bentancur.
Højbjerg for me is what every single club needs to have. A player that is who's a juggernaut, basically. He doesn't necessarily set fire to the game, but he's always there. He's rarely injured. He gives every last drop of sweat, blood, and tears when he is on the pitch. And look, no player is without weakness, right? Every player has weaknesses. Even the likes of Ronaldo and Messi have weaknesses, okay? The key here for those that will be critical of Højbjerg is to ask the question whether or not those weaknesses outweigh the strengths and the assets that he brings to the squad. And for me, the answer to that is no, they don't. His strengths outweigh his weaknesses, and he always gives his all, which is all you can really ask for from every player. You know, you can say that a player isn't good enough to play for us, aka Emerson, but you can't fault Emerson for his effort. You know, I don't say Emerson shouldn't be at the club because he doesn't try. Whereas, for instance, I would say that Tanguy Ndombele shouldn't be at the club because he doesn't try. You know, Højbjerg is what every club needs: a workhorse that gives his all and has enough strength to contribute to the squad. And for me, anyone who wants to criticize him and say he shouldn't be at the club hasn't really actually looked at what he brings. And on Wednesday night, he was immense. He really, really was. Bentancur is a different animal. He plays with a different sort of skill set to Højbjerg, but he likewise was very, very good. It's not the best I've seen him play. I have to say I've seen him play better, or more sort of prominently, let's say. I think it was an almost role reversal to what was happening last season, whereas last season it was Højbjerg that was sort of holding back a bit, and Bentancur was the one who was operating slightly ahead of him. And now on Wednesday it was the other way around. Højbjerg was the one who was being progressive.
So weird. I thought I was in the Matrix at some point, Rez. I thought I was in the Matrix because I was like, dude, I swear Bentancur is usually the one that makes those runs, and Højbjerg is the one that usually stays back. And no, definitely.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, didn't mean to interrupt, but we were in the Matrix, man.
Yeah, but it was listen, it was great to see. It was fantastic to see these two playing well. I love Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. 83 out of 85 potential starts, right? He has started the game. I mean, listen, if the likes of Conte is continually picking him where there are other choices available, there's a reason for that. You know, there's a reason he picks Emerson every week, is because Doherty's still recovering from that ridiculous injury that was dealt him by Matt Cash against Villa. You know, people say, well, why isn't he playing Spence? There's a reason he's not playing Spence. Spence is young. You know, there's a reason he's not playing Basuma. Basuma hasn't got used to the system yet. I actually think that Skip is ahead of Basuma right now. I really do. And that we will probably see more of Skip than we will of Basuma in the coming weeks. But
we'll see.
Højbjerg and Bentancur are number one choice for him right now for a reason.
For sure. Alan, I wanted to get your overall thoughts too. You touched on Bentancur, but that midfield, the way they controlled the game, like I said, it was a little bit of a different, I guess, end result, because usually when teams like to pack the midfield, they kind of crumble under the pressure, or they get a little bit overwhelmed. They need some more support from the wing backs, or maybe a center back, or someone has to drop deep. But they really controlled the game well, especially in the first half. Højbjerg, one of his best performances this season. What were your overall thoughts on the midfield?
So here's me bit of shooting straight. I think that midfield is good, but I think against better opposition, better than Frankfurt, you know, because we've seen so many times this season that midfield get bypassed so easily. It's none of their fault, and not saying they're bad players, just that they don't have the people in there. And Conte he doesn't like to go ultra defensive like Mourinho and Nuno. He likes to sit and contain and then quickly transition up the pitch.
That's what he answer your question. City's a publicly traded company.
Oh, thanks for asking the question.
So nightmare, that's fun.
Do you have one of those, like, have you seen those? Sorry to interrupt you. I digress sometimes. It makes me think of those movies where those dudes have like I saw something where he had like a smartphone girlfriend, and she was like, I'm not saying you have a smartphone girlfriend, but like where she like always interrupting him and like ordering shit for him, and it was just a funny.
I was gonna say it's. I was gonna say that it kind of sounded like the OnStar voice. It kind of started like the OnStar.
You're safe with OnStar. Sorry, Alan.
I actually think she's a little bit like Gloria from Portal, if you've played that.
So going back to obviously the two that have got like the Conte players are great for his system. They do exactly what they need and all that. But the problem has come when we play against better teams where we can't get out, that causes problems because we haven't got an extra man in midfield to be able to quickly transition. So Arsenal brought us out. I think Frankfurt didn't catch that because they're not as good. I think we'll be fine against Everton, but I think when we come up to Liverpool, I know Liverpool are struggling, but Liverpool in a couple weeks, I think we'll find the same problem. Like I said, Bentancur in the flesh, much better than I gave him credit for. I mean, he's pressing, like I said, he was all over the pitch. He's pressing, his passing ability, his defensive as well was better than I anticipated, and the way he just, gets in the right position. Højbjerg for me is a brilliant player in the fact that he does all the, bad, dirty stuff that no other players want to do. He's happy to sit there, control the game. There's a reason, obviously, he fits so well for Conte, Nuno, and Mourinho's type of play. I think if we were to have a manager who plays in front foot, I think you wouldn't see the best of him. I think you might see him, not play as much. But because he's so reliable, because he's so authoritative in there, people look to him and all that as leader. Obviously his passing can improve, but to see him make lung-busting runs like he did to set up Son, like we saw him against Leicester, when it turns to 3-5-2, I think he even played better than he does in the 3-4-3. Because Basuma sat and he allowed him to push on, and he was outrunning people late into a game and all that, which I've never seen Højbjerg do. I think there's much more potential there if we were to go to a 3-5-2. But as a 2, that is their best performance. They controlled the game better. I just think, as and when we come up against better teams, Conte does need to go to that 3-5-2 to help protect them too, because if we lose the midfield battle against better teams and we lose, people will instantly blame them when it's not their fault, because they're doing the best they can in that, in the positions that they're asked to do and everything they're asked to do by Conte.
It's because when you play a 3-4-3, your fullbacks are supposed to be almost like a jack of all trades. They're supposed to defend, they're supposed to help in the midfield, they're supposed to help in the attack. We've only got one right now wing back that you can argue is capable of doing that, and that's Perisic. You know, Emerson. One of the reasons it falls apart a lot when we're coming up against three in midfield is because there's no outball to the right. You know, Emerson isn't. His positioning is awful. Sometimes he's too far forward, sometimes too far back. He's not always available to help his midfielders out, which is one of his jobs. It's just the fact that the squad is not best suited to a really good and effective system. 3-4-3 works very well if you've got the right personnel for it, and you don't need to worry about being overloaded in midfield then, because what you do, because of the ebbs and flows, you know, your forwards drop back, your wing backs tuck in, and you can control that midfield that way. But ask Emerson to pick up any of that, and it's like asking for the moon. You know, it's asking for the moon. So I know where you're spot on, Alan. It's because they're just not. They can't do the impossible. Those two, it would be impossible to get them to control a midfield two. You know, being a midfield two against a midfield three or more, let's say. When they don't have the options, when they don't have the tools available to them, which is their teammates. You know, you actually notice that's where most of the attacks are coming from when we're under pressure. They target our right hand side because everyone knows that Emerson's a liability.
He's definitely a liability. Also, I think that Son opens up some of that space naturally, and that's why I think Kulusevski also flourishes. Just by playing with the front three of with Kane and Son, because they pull so much attention themselves that if you have just a bit above average quality, especially on the ball, you can find either one of them. So first, real quick, I want to say big up Bob Spur. Says big up you beautifully average looking people. Says, isn't it ironic the narrative is we're lacking numbers in midfield, yet Benny and Højbjerg have been our best two players. Big up. As of late, I would agree with that for sure. He also says, Rez, that you need a head shave, and the rest of us have too much hair.
I do. I've got far too much hair. Far too much hair.
I'll get a haircut soon, Bob.
Actually, I'm gonna get a haircut too soon because it's becoming to the point of too long where, like, when I sit down or when I lay down, like, my hair gets stuck and, you know, just too much hair. Do you know what I'm talking about, Rez?
Wearing it up in a very sort of elaborate coif, you know?
Oh,
just sort of like,
that'd be nice.
Try that.
Do like a big swirly bun thing. I would do that for sure. If actually I went to a Tottenham game, I'd do Marge Simpson.
Fan, Princess Leia.
Ooh, see if my wife likes that.
There you go.
Yeah.
You want thick Princess Leia, honey? Coming with my buns.
Oh yeah.
I'm a little meatier than what you're thinking. Anywho, before I get too lost in the sauce that is meat, let me talk about something that's near and dear to my heart. Michael, I hope you're ready. I think it's Youngman Daddy time.
I've been ready.
It's Youngman Poppy, Youngman Heung, whatever you want to call him. Best player in the world, most genuine man in the world. I know people will say, oh, this guy's got more talent, this guy does that, etc. I don't care. Best player in the world. I think he's amazing, and it's great to see. Like, if you take a step back and you look at that first goal, Michael, and I think you kind of mentioned this to me, or someone mentioned it to me. Shout out whoever the fuck on Twitter. They mentioned to me that that finish of Son's, the first one. Like, we know how great of a banger that second one was, but the first one, that is a Heung-min Son goal that he did all last year that we become used to, whether it be right foot, left foot, finish it in the bottom opposite corner away from the keeper, and they're always outstretched and they can't get it because they ass. And so it's what we've grown accustomed to. And to see him just take the ball on, and he just did 1-2 dribbles with the right foot, and then right foot slotted to the bottom right corner. I mean, it like, Rez, I know you kind of mentioned vintage Sonny, like what is Sonny is the Puskas goal versus Burnley, and I agree that shows the levels of Sonny. I think that finish, just the simple, easy, you get the ball to me in space, I'm going to put it where the keeper can't go, as simple of a finish as I can. And it's magical to see. And that's not saying he can't finish curlers. I mean, that's how he beat City last year, is because of Heung-min Son's left foot. So when it comes to this guy, he can do it all. And it's, for me, really relieving to see that kind of finish from the first goal, because it's calm, it's confident, it's a man who's walking in there and knows how big he is, and he's going to put that hoe on the table, and he's going to say, look at it. And that dude Trapp, he just couldn't handle it. And I understand, I wouldn't be able to either. But that finish for me, it really just sings from the rafters, from the high heavens. Heung-min Daddy is back.
An amazing game yesterday.
Yeah, he was standing on his head, but right? I mean, his defenders didn't help him any. And I like Ndicka for what it's worth, because he's got a fantastic name.
Son alone would have ripped him a new one if it hadn't been for Trapp. He would have scored at least 4 if it hadn't been for Trapp. You know, so he would have been 5-2 minimum. We would have ripped them a new arsehole if it hadn't been for Trapp, you know? And that just shows how well Sonny played, because the keeper had a worldie and he still got 2. You know?
You could fit my heart in that rectangle right there. I'm telling you. You could just rip it out my chest, put it in there, and I'll be fine. That man breathes life into this team. Man, there's so many beautiful videos after the game of him being all cuddly with Cuti Romero's little kid, and it just makes me feel like I wish I was that Cuti's little kid and I could be in Cuti's arms, and Heung-min Son's tickling my belly and playing with me. That'd be fun. Who doesn't want that?
Welcome to Jacob's fantasies.
Sorry, Michael. I know I should save this for the follow-up with Jacob.
Don't apologize to me. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, when it comes to Heung-min Daddy, everything goes. He pushes every boundary on the pitch, off the pitch, in the bed, off the bed. Just the man is back. Everyone was talking about bench him, spank him on the booty, make him run fast. Guess what? He didn't need that. He just got that 13-minute hat trick. Okay, then he went to Korea and he went and balled out for them. Then he came back and he just waited. And guess what? He balled out again. And I'm really excited to see him go against a team like Everton on the weekend, just because the stride he's hitting, the stride Højbjerg's hitting, the stride also I would say Bentancur is hitting, because he's getting forward, he's being confident on the ball, he's taking shots on. That's a really welcoming sight, because that's something I felt like he lacked in confidence last year with us. He was great distributing the ball, but he just didn't want to take shots on, and if he did, it was kind of like a Harry Kane PK. You know what I'm saying? But Heung-min Daddy, he's the one, the only one. I can keep going, but it's just probably going to delve into more moisture. So I'm going to just throw it around to whoever else wants to talk. Mike, you got something to say about Sonny?
Nah, look, you basically summed it up probably perfectly for me also. Just an incredible clinical, more specifically, just a clinical performance. It was either our first or one of our first chances when he scored our first goal. And it was, again, Kane to Son. Beautiful run, just the attacking instinct that he has. He knows where to be. He knows when to make those runs at the perfect moment. And the way he just slotted it home into the bottom right-hand corner, it was just a clinical, sunny finish that we've really just grown accustomed to. The second goal, though, was absolute class, world-class finishing. Beautiful one-time volley. It won the Champions League goal of the week as well, out of all of the group stage games that have been played that week. And it just shows you that time and time again, he comes up big for this football club, and he did it again against Frankfurt. Not only did his goals come in clutch, he once again forced an opposition defender to get a red card. Well, 2 yellows. We saw it against Arsenal last season. We saw it again on Tuesday against Frankfurt, or Wednesday, excuse me, whenever it was. I have my days clouded at this point. But it just shows that form is temporary, world class with Heung-min Son is permanent. Rez, what about you, man?
Yeah, I mean, I said everything that I really think I can say about Sonny. I adore the man. I think of him as symbolizing our club. I hate to say it, and I might get a little flack for this, but sorry, it's not Harry Kane that symbolises Spurs for me. It's Heung-min Son. Yes, I think. Yeah, there's very little. So all I would say is I would ring a note of caution, okay, and say let's not get above ourselves yet, and say that he's back to where he was. He played the way we expect him to play on Wednesday, but again, it was against weaker opposition that gave him space. I want to see him tear into Everton on tomorrow. I want to see him show what he showed against Frankfurt, against the Premier League side, before I stop worrying about him. Everything that has been said about him up until yesterday, it was concerned that he hasn't been the player that we expect from him, and I'm hoping that it is a case of he has now rediscovered his touch and just sort of, because it's such small margins, such a tiny little thing can knock a player off their stride and turn them into, go from being that amazing player that always delivers to someone who we're saying, where the hell did that player go? So yeah, I'm hoping that this is the beginning, but I'm going to wait and see before I say that he is back to his best, because he's got to show it for our bread and butter.
Rez,
games,
jump in, both feet. The water's nice. It's waiting for you, my friend. Jump in with both feet. Don't be hesitant. He won't break your heart.
It's not. Again, it's not because I don't want that for him. I want that more than anything, if I'm being honest, because an on-form Son is almost an unstoppable force. I just want to see him do it I know the Champions League is big, I know it's important, but for me it's not the primary consideration in a season. The league always is, and I want to see him do it against the Premier League side. So then I will say, right, he's done it for his country, he's done it in Europe, he's done it in the Premier League, now he's back to his best. That's what I want to see.
Okay, that's fair. It's okay to be hesitant. Whoa, here we go. That isn't me, Alan Sibley. That wasn't me either, but
I saw Alan's comment, so I
do
had
not
to pull
complain.
it up. There's the proper photo of Sonny Allen. Don't you worry. I always have it on lock right there. Just when
Big
I
up
need
10
it.
inch.
Always right there when I need it.
Alan Clarke, don't let this photo distract you. I don't know how many streams you've been on where you've been asked your opinions on this man whilst seeing his abs and a slight nip.
Yeah, slight nip. Don't forget about the nip, because
Slight,
nip people on
very
this pod.
slight, modest enough for children, I think. For the family, your wife can look at it. It's all good. Alan, what are your thoughts on Sonny? Just overall, is he back? Is Sonny back, baby?
I'm going to agree with Rez. Just
Jesus, man, tiptoeing into the waters, not jumping in.
Tiptoe, y'all got to jump in.
Christ.
The water's nice, y'all.
No. So this is my honest opinion, right? So last season and previous seasons, you've seen Son get better and better and better. This season, he hasn't hit the same heights yet. Whether it be people saying Perisic not stopping him from playing, because the way he plays on the wing, because he scored more with Sessegnon. Whether it's him just something not being right with him because he's not being his happy self for most of the season. His finishes been poor, apart from the hat-trick against Leicester, and obviously against Frankfurt. Shots have been wayward, poor, straight to the keeper. He's looked down, he's looked disinterested. Him and Kane haven't been the same wavelength. It felt like something was there that was stopping them like they normally were. That seems to now be on the, that seems to have been gone out the window now, and it seems like he's found in his form again. I want to see him do what he was doing last season and go on 4, 5, 6, 7 game run. You can't score in every game, unless you're harder. We'll get probably that's the subject for another time. I like to score about 4, 5, 6, 7 games running, scoring goals continuously, because for me, what we know of Son in previous seasons and last season especially, to perform and have 2 good games, one in the Premier League, one in the Champions League, where you score belters and look uniform yourself, isn't to his standard. And it's because he set such a high standard for himself. It's not knocking him as a person, because, like you say, the person he is off the pitch, the way he is with everyone, Steven and all that, he's loved for that reason. But he just has to get back to his very high standards. And if he can replicate that from last season, with Kane actually playing from the off and like being in sensational form and scoring 8 and 9. The only reason people aren't speaking about it is because of what Haaland's doing. Kulusevski still to come back. Richarlison showing loads of things like that. You know, the future, the season ahead for Spurs is bright if we get the system, the formation, and the tactics right per games, like from Conte or anything like that. So that's why, for me, like I said, with the team we've got, at least third, and the trophy is on this season. That's my standards for Spurs. So I think with everything, like I just said, I think it's doable. But him and Kane getting back to what they were last season and have been in previous seasons is crucial to that. So it looks like whatever has stopped that so far this season is out the window, and it looks like they're getting back to their best, which can only be a positive going into the games before the World Cup, where we're looking like about 7-8 games.
It's such a shame, how the international break was the game after Leicester City, because I feel like with the way how lethal he was against Leicester when he came on in the second half, and how clinical he was, and just that hunger that you could really see in his eye when he was out there on the pitch. It's just a shame that the international break, I don't want to say it like ruined his momentum or anything like that, because look at him now, this past week. But I thought it really could have been a moment to kickstart his form in the Premier League, more specifically. He came back. We had we had the games that we had. I don't want to really talk too much about some of them in particular, but now what we're seeing is a player returning to form in the Champions League. Now Everton is like, I want to get into it more when we talk about Everton, but tomorrow is where his run of form can really start to pick up the pace. If he puts in a great shift tomorrow against Everton, scores 1 or 2 goals, I think that's where you're going to start to see Son start to pick up the pace. So I'm going to slightly, don't get me wrong, I'm diving in with both feet, Jacob. I'm fully in the pool.
Let's
I'm
go.
wet. Moisture all around. But
Moisture.
I will slightly agree with Rez and Alan in the fact that he hasn't hit the heights that we have come to love and know him to be at, but I do think that we're on the horizon of that. I truly do think so. Everton is the type of opponent where we've seen him dominate time and time again in the past. It's a perfect opportunity for him to get back into form in the Premier League and really pick up the pace, start to score some goals, maybe get some assists in the bag as well. But it's a guy who influences performances when he's on and off the ball. Remember, guys, even when he's not at his best, he still makes an impact when he's off the ball because of how much attention he draws, how much space he creates for himself as well. So,
Sure,
hey, let's hope and see that we see some of the same against Everton tomorrow, specifically.
Yeah.
Bobby K says, Big K got in the car, is wondering why we're flashing Sonny topless pics. He's not topless. He has a jean jacket on.
I think the more important question is, why wouldn't we be before that? I think your concern should have been more before we put up the photo and not afterwards, but we appreciate the concern.
And I don't know what you're complaining about, Bobby K. You've got that picture up in your study. You told me. Don't start getting all high and mighty now, right? We're watching you.
Bobby K's seen the topless pic. I see somebody wearing a jacket. I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, exactly, Alan. That's what I'm talking about. He's modest in this one. Don't let him pull out the other one, because the other one's just full bare breast. So that's a fun time. Bob Spur, while we're slightly on the topic, question of the panel, and then we'll move on to predictions, Michael. That work for you?
Yeah.
Bob Spur says, thoughts on the whole Perisic restricts Sonny's attacking play narrative. And then I'll just take this down so we can see Alan's smile and laugh while we talk about fun things.
It's all right. It's all right. We'll give the chat a little bit of a break.
I mean, it's getting warm in here. I'm about to turn the fan back up because temperature rising.
With Bobby K, it's full on attack.
What did he say?
No.
Oh, I was like, did Bobby K say something? He says Rez got a big mouth.
I like teasing Bobby K. That's all.
United Spurs does cover therapy. I'm actually
we are the therapy, right? I feel
we
like.
are.
Maybe
yeah, bro.
sometimes.
Just call me.
Yeah.
Just call me. Yeah. But Michael, do you think that when we see Perisic, J-Co actually popped up some really good numbers as well to back up the fact that Perisic restricts Sonny's attacking play, but you could also just argue the simple fact that Sonny wasn't hitting. He got very unlucky a lot of times. Even when Perisic was out there was one goal that he was literally right there about to tap in, and the guy just said, I want that goal, and he played for the other team. And then in the same game, in the next game, he's hitting the rail, he's just getting unlucky. That was my kind of take on the initial. So I didn't really think Perisic restricts Sonny, especially when you put the stats up to it, because if you just compare his numbers with Sessegnon, I think it's a little skewing just because Sonny wasn't necessarily firing. I'd be curious to see Sonny now with Perisic. Why not? Let's see it now. But I do think that Perisic's natural abilities and what he's good at and what he's been doing is getting forward, crossing the ball in very high for a guy like Harry Kane or Richarlison to head it home, honestly. So that's what he's good at, or he can take it in and take the shot. So, like, maybe he is crowding Sonny's space a little bit. I would argue, though, that I think Sonny tracking back more affects Sonny's offensive output because he's not just necessarily waiting for his run in behind. He's tracking back, trying to stop play. So that's my 2 cents. But Michael, did you have any thoughts about this?
Yeah, when I look at Perisic and Sonny and you look at the performances, yeah, they weren't great because Sonny wasn't at his best to begin the season. But look at how many times he hit the bar. Look at how many times he just didn't finish chances that, an in-form, firing on all cylinders Sonny would have put away. I think now, like you mentioned, Jacob, now that Sonny's starting to find some form, let's see how they do, together. Look, Perisic, Rez had already mentioned it. He's like our most complete all-around wing-back that we have at the moment, who really ticks all of the boxes. I would argue that his defensive ability hasn't been as impressive as I would have liked to have been in terms of Perisic's play, but going forward, he's getting on the board with assists. He's being that creative player that we know that we've seen when he's been on Bayern, when he's been on Intern, the teams that he's been on before he has come to Spurs. We've seen that from him. We've seen glimpses of his old self. When Sonny's on the pitch, he takes advantage of the space that's in front of him, right? He can beat a man one-on-one. He can play 1-2s with Harry Kane. With Perisic making those forward runs, yeah, it does limit his space a little bit. I just think that he's adapting and he's kind of changing the style of his play when Perisic is in the 11. Look, you have a guy like Sessegnon. You know you're not going to be as reliant on him with making forward runs and relying on him having that end ball, that final ball, that end product. With Sonny, you can rely on that. With Perisic, you can too. I just think that they're two players trying to find what system and kind of what play style works best between them. It takes time. Remember, this is a long season. We're still in third place in the Premier League. It would be totally different if we were like in a Leicester City position or, just in a mid-table, win here, lost there on the road, a draw here at home, frustrating performances. No, we're still getting the wins where we need them to be. Yeah, we're not playing at our best. You could argue there's different players like Romero as well. I would even throw in Romero. He hasn't been at his best so far this season, whether it's been through injury or just overall form. There's players in the 11 right now who haven't been at their best, but there's plenty of time in the season. It's barely October. There's only been a few months to go by. That's my opinion. I just think that we've been a little bit unlucky. Sonny's been a little bit unlucky with his chances that he hasn't converted early on in the season. When he's back in form and he's at his best, then let's see. Let's evaluate. Then we'll talk. What about you, Rez?
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. It's it takes time. It takes time for players to get used to each other, and some players will take longer to get used to some of their teammates as others. It's just bedding in, and it's all being controlled by the manager. Conte doesn't watch them in training and think Perisic and Son don't seem to be working well together, so I'm going to play them in the next match. He might think they're not playing well together, so they need to play with each other more so they can learn what they do. He will also coach them. He will also say to Perisic, right, well, when Sonny's doing this, you do that. And say to Sonny, when Perisic is doing that, you do that. It's all part of football. It will take time. Sonny has not just played with that, the same group of players throughout his career, and likewise neither has Perisic. The fact that he's been to different clubs, has been successful at different clubs. Sonny, all right, he's more of a one club player. He only played for Leverkusen before he came to Spurs, but he's played with other people out on the left, so it just takes time. It might be true that right now Perisic is restricting Sonny's attacking play, but it's not a case of you pick one or the other. You know, if you have Perisic available and you have Sonny available, and it makes sense in terms of fitness, you play them both, right? You don't leave a player like Perisic on the pitch when you can play him safely. You don't leave a player like Sonny on the pitch if you on the bench if you can play him safely, if he's not injured or unfit or anything like that. Unless what we saw with his head, you play them both. They will get used to each other. They will find the balance between each other's style of play if there is an effect at the moment. So it's not a cause for concern for me in the slightest.
What about you, Alan?
Yeah, I pretty much echo what everyone else is saying. I mean, we look back to previous seasons and Son's conversion rate, it was like mid to high 30s, sometimes closing on 40. It was just a phenomenal rate. And obviously this season, although he hasn't played to his best, he's been in front of goal himself, Son, and he just hasn't been at the same level. People say about Perisic thing, I think people use that as an excuse as to why Son isn't. The reason I don't think it is because last season you had less wing backs in Doherty and Sessegnon towards the end, who were getting back and like crossing balls in, and so they were finding Son, they were creating space. Perisic's a much better wing back who creates more space for Son than it is. It's just Son's been off form. When you've seen Son on form, you've seen the same player. I think it's just literally a form thing. I think it's just like whether, like I said, something was going on with him. It just seems that way. I think you'll see a much better Son, like when he gets used to the whole Perisic thing. I think you'll see a much better Son as well. For me, I think it's just people using a new player coming in as that's what it's restricting Son. I've not seen Son restricted. I've seen Son out of form, but now he looks like he's back in form or getting back to where he was. So for me, I think you'll only see that as a positive between them two linking up, because Perisic, quality of ball to the byline, creating more space has been a big plus. I agree, his defensive work has been a bit suspect at times, but for me, that's only going to get better with the more he adapts to the Premier League, and he's here for another season after that. So,
and hopefully better central defenders.
I think it's going to be like a positive going forward.
Rez, I think you read my mind, man, because it's a perfect segue into what I wanted to talk about before we get into the Everton match, if it's okay with you, Jacob. I wanted to go over the back line. I wanted to go over the back line, and I just have a simple question.
It would be easy to.
I don't want to bash, I don't want to go all in and just bash everyone's performance, but just a simple question that I'll start off with Alan, and we'll go around the panel. How worried are you about the back line right now?
For me, with the back line, worried. I am, and there's a reason for it. Everton Royale is not good enough. Doherty had one good game, but we saw he can have like 5 or 6 good games and then go missing again. Left wing back, Perisic and Sessegnon have been better. But then you get to the back, like Romero has been nowhere near Romero standards. Eric Dyer's got a mistake in him. We saw that against Frankfurt.
Horrible. Dog water.
Does MMA than he does sometimes, like defending or like playing football. He just likes to roughhouse people. And Lenglet, for me, Lenglet has been a surprise. He's done better than I thought, than I gave him credit for. But it's, especially the way we sit back and we like try and contain, and then moving forward, like I say, come up against better quality players or the teams that we've restricted long range shots, like before the Arsenal game. They find top bins, or they find a person on form who's going to strike and all that, going to cause us much more problems. I think the not getting Bastoni or a better defender was a problem. I think maybe you're seeing Conte try to contain rather than play a little bit more freely like he did last season, because he's a bit worried about the back line. But, it's one of them things, apart from when we had Vertonghen, Alderweireld, Danny Rose or Walker, we've always had a suspect back line. And it's just, depends on how we limit teams taking advantage against that until we get a better player in. And it looks like Conte's decided that he's going to be a bit more defensive this season than he was last season. But yeah, Romero, we know on his day, is quite like top class defender. Perisic, yes, on his day he can be good. Davies is an unsung hero for me. I don't think he's necessarily the way forward for Spurs, but his defensive abilities and then what he brings for Conte and what Conte likes in him is the reason why he keeps having a place in the team. But yeah, it's a bit of a mismatch of a back line. So hopefully, whether it be January where we bring somebody in, or we can get to the summer of securing Champions League football and a trophy and rebuild, I think you're going to see a player like a Skriniar, a Bastoni, and Ndika, or anything like that will come into the team. But in saying that, let's just look forward to the next season because Destiny Udogie for Udinese looks an absolute baller.
Yeah.
Big Udogie fans over here.
Animal, he's big. He's a powerhouse, which Conte likes.
Thick.
So that's a positive for us next season.
Girthy. I know. I watch him now since we signed him. I've been watching Udinese, and they were actually top of the league for a little while. They drew with Inter. They beat Roma. They've been pulling some results, and you know who's been a formidable force in that is Udogie. And honestly, I'm super excited to see him in a Tottenham shirt. Personally, Rez. Same question Michael asked. I think it was, are you concerned with the backline boogeyman? Ooh, spooky.
I'm worried about the back line. I've been worried. For me, I don't count the wing backs as part of the back line. I'm only talking here about the central defense.
Yeah, I was honestly, I was a little bit more talking about like the back three, but you could also put the wing backs in because obviously they are a part of our defense. But I was talking about more specifically,
them three.
Both goals were on defenders.
My comments will only be on the back three because I've spoken at length about Emerson Royale, and I'm pretty much boring myself now when I talk about Emerson Royale, let alone anyone who's watching. So when it comes to the back three, I have concerns. Okay, we have one central defender that I have no concerns about, or no sort of inherent concerns about, and that's QT Romero. Yes, he's not been at his best this season, but like Sonny, form is temporary, class is permanent. Romero will be, he's probably not quite there yet, he will be a Rolls Royce of a central defender. He's still only 25, I think, so he's still got some time. He's getting there, though. He's almost there. Great, okay? Want him to stay. He's going to be great. Eric Dyer, for all the improvement that he's shown as a central defender, he started at a very low level when it comes to improvement. So, you know, when you start at that low level and show some improvement, yes, that's positive and that's great to see, but he is nowhere near of a level for being a top central defender. I'm sorry, Eric. I love his attitude. I love the fact that he's, you know, a bit smarter than most footballers. Love his passion. I do appreciate all of those things. But the club comes first. So if it's a choice between Eric Dyer's wonderful personality, smarts, and, you know, passion, or a central defender that you can rely on not to have a brain fart, I choose the latter. When it comes to the left side of the central defence, I am quite pleased with Longley, to be honest. I think he's actually a lot better than people have given him credit for. But it's not enough for Spurs. We need have Longley. Great, fantastic. I'm a massive Ben Davies fan as well. I would defend him against people because he works hard and he never has a brain fart that causes a problem. It's just his ability is not at that point. Yes, I want to upgrade him, but it's still not enough, you know. But leave him alone. He does the best he can. He's been a great servant. Longley is a start. We needed at least one more central defender as part of a process in the summer. Longley alone is not enough. We needed one more to provide at least either replace Eric Dyer or at the very, very least provide competition, because the only replacement for him is Davinson Sanchez, for crying out loud. We needed another central defender in the summer. We didn't get them. That has got to be the second priority this January. I know it's hard to buy players in January, but the priority needs to be a new right wing back, and the second priority needs to be another central defender. And I'm sorry, goodbye, Davinson. Thank you for your time. There were times where you did play well, and I'm not going to take away that Arsenal performance from you, but it's time to go.
And Watford, he had a game winner,
worried.
Rez.
Yeah. Sorry?
He had a game winner at Watford. Game winner, header off the corner, secured
fine.
3
Listen,
points.
That's the thing. There have been times where a player has performed and done well and contributed to the side. Absolutely great. I love you for that, and I will give you credit for doing that. Like against Frankfurt, for instance, Emerson put in a fantastic tackle on the edge of the box. It was pinpoint, right? But he doesn't do it consistently enough. He doesn't do enough of it. It doesn't seem like he meant it almost. So for me, it's out the door. Davinson Sanchez, he's got pace. He can pick out a pass, but under pressure, he turns into Bambi, you know? So for me, it's like, bye-bye. We need to upgrade our central defenders as a matter of urgency, right? I'm sorry, Eric Dyer, you're not good enough. We need the likes of a, I don't know them. We need the likes of a Bastoni. We need the likes of a Skriniar. We need the likes of a Gvardiol, who's obviously going to Chelsea now. We need that type of player, because one, let's say Romero, and a half, let's say Longley, is not enough for a club that is serious about competing. Yeah?
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
Alex Ferguson said it. Goals win games, defenders win titles. Yeah? You have to live by that mantra.
It's interesting. That's a phrase. It sounds very similar to something I've heard in American sports over here with American football. Good teams win you games, but defenses win you championships. That is exactly right. It's funny how most sports revolve around a solid defense. Also, like in war, you need a solid defense. For me, when it comes to the back line, real quick, I'm just going to say Clementine has been a bright spot. I thought he's been okay. He hasn't been like great, fantastic, let me drop my pants or anything, but he has been like, I'm not mad at you. And I feel like more often than not, when it's Ben Davies, I'm like, I'm mad at you. And then when I see Eric Dyer, I'm very mad at Eric Dyer. Emerson, I'm very mad at. But Romero is, I feel like the physio room, they tried to suck him back into the vortex that is the endless spiral of physio work. And maybe he got rushed back. He looked a little shaky there and there. But I thought Frankfurt, he looked back to his old self. But also, I really, at this junction, because Rez, I hear everything you're saying and I agree completely. We need upgrades. I wanted fucking Bremer so bad. Serie A Defender of the Year. We love him. They get 1,000 fans the instant they sign. Like, this is a guy that we should have dropped the bag for and bought him out. I know you want to live in Italy, Bremer, but guess what? Come hang out with Emerson Royale. He's your Brazilian buddy. This is
Can I interject? Can I interject, Jacob?
Yeah.
What you're saying there is spot on the money, right? Because this is one of the things that we have got to start changing about the club, right? There is no player now, zero, that if you offer them enough money, will not move.
Exactly.
Right?
Money talk louder than anything.
Absolutely. Now, that's not to say that you have to give a player absolutely everything. Yeah, there has to be a point where you turn around and say, you know what, that doesn't make financial sense for us as a club. But I think that we set that bar far too low and are unwilling to go a little bit further, right? Mm-hmm. I reckon that, Bastoni said the same thing. He said, oh no, I'm happy at Inter. I want to stay. Yeah, all right. So if we double or triple your wages, you're still going to be happy at Inter. Give me a break. You're going to move to London on the next bloody plane.
But
this
Rez,
is the problem. We've got to be serious and say, if we want these players and these players are the ones we want, we have to be willing to pay the money for them.
I agree, but I feel like that's a problem we got to continue to try and fix in January. I'm looking at right here, right now, before, after World Cup. Like, what do we have? We have Davinson. I was actually very interested to see Christian Romero in the center and Davinson Sanchez on the right. I feel like with Longley, Romero, and Sanchez, it just may be, yes, Sanchez is a liability. Dyer's a liability. Davies is a liability at times. Like, these are all our players can be liabilities at times. Romero has been a liability here and there in a couple games. So I don't know.
what you're asking, Jacob, is for Davinson Sanchez to cover for Emerson Royale. Do you think that's wise?
It's dangerous. In Mission Impossible, it's a dangerous mission. But we're doing dangerous things as a team. As Spurs, I want to dream big. I don't, like, at the end of the day, the transfer window was what it was. January is going to be whatever it's going to be. Me bitching, moaning, or me jacking off about it is not going to change anything. So at the end of the day, for me,
right now, I think that Conte is playing the best hand,
the safe game
with that defense.
Yeah,
and he has to listen. I cannot. If it would be a nightmare for me to have Royale on the right and Davinson Sanchez as the right centre back, because that every team would go, do you know what? Let's just overload our left, their left, and just swamp. What's it called? Because Davinson Sanchez can't play under pressure. Emerson Royale is ineffective. They would get so much joy out of our right hand side. At least with Romero as the right centre back, there's something to give them pause. It's like, do I really want to go up against QT Romero, who will probably break me if I get too cocky? It's the safest thing to do right now. Perisic on the left with Ben Davis or Longley, there. The reason that Dyer plays central centre back is because it's the easiest of the back three to play, because you've got two in front of you. He's the last line of defence, but it's rare for it to get beyond that last line of defence it's beyond to get past the penultimate line of defence to that last line of defence. He's there to assist one or the other central defenders. That's why you play the three. So it's the easiest place to play. It's the safest place to put him, because he can't play on the left. He can't play on the right. And, it's a choice of him or Davinson Sanchez. Play Dyer for now. I'm worried. I don't like it, but it's the wise course of action. Don't be cavalier with your defense. Is my thinking.
No, and Rez, you make some really good points. I guess the last thing I want to say about this before we talk about our final subject, which is actually the game we got tomorrow. I just think that maybe we do keep starting Dyer. Let England pick him for the World Cup. Help America. Come on, woohoo! America can get out of the group. If you have Eric Dyer and Harry Maguire back there, come on, I'm dancing. Anyway, that's the last thing I wanted to say. Just a little jab there for you, Alan and Rez, from your American friends over here.
I'm not watching the World Cup, so you can jab away, mate.
Real quick, I want you guys to give us your starting 11 and then your score predictions and goal scores, and we'll wrap this puppy up. Okay. Alan, we'll start with you. I haven't heard your voice in a minute.
For me, starting lineup against Everton will be Lloris, Doherty, Romero, Dyer, Davies. Then left wing back, I think, will be Perisic. You'll have Bentancur and Højbjerg, and then you'll have. Will we go 5? Will we go 3-5-2? No, I think you'll go with
probably 3-4-3.
Son, Kane, and Richarlison up front. I think it'll pretty much be that's the team. Score prediction.
Save it. Well, I want to save. I'm going to get Rez, and then Michael, and then myself, and then we'll go back around and do the score prediction. I just want to separate it a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you're going with pretty much the Conte lineup, but Doherty starting at the right wing back. You got Perisic on the left.
Perisic will be on the left because Sessegnon played, and then I think Davies will come in for Langley.
Okay, interesting. Rez, who do you got?
Exactly the same, except I think Longley will start.
Okay, very nice. Michael?
Not because I think Davis shouldn't start, but because I think he's still not quite back from that injury.
That's fair.
I'm going Hugo, same back three of Romero, Dyer, and Longley. I'm going Doughboy on the right. I think he's going to go 3-4-3 again. Bentancur, Højbjerg in the middle, with Perisic on the left, with Richarlison, Kane, and Son up top.
Yeah, I agree with you. Wait, Michael, did you say Longley on the left of the back three?
Yeah.
I could see Davies starting, but you're right. That injury thing, it may just be tickling him a little too much, and just maybe safer to go with Clementine, which I'm okay with that because honestly, he hasn't been atrocious or bad or given me reason to complain. Now, Alan, you're ready to fire it off. Who is scoring your goals, and what is your goal scoring predictions? Also, this is for the chat. I want you to tell us your score predictions, who's scoring those goals. We'll read them out before we end the show. But Alan, you are up, my friend.
For me, 3-1 Spurs. I see us conceding because, like I said, the back line's a bit dodgy. I think Son's going to get another one. I think Kane will get another one. And I do this all the time. I'm just going to throw a Romero goal in there. I don't know why. I just want to see Romero score a goal.
He gets forward angrily, so he may.
I always throw a Romero goal in there and sod it.
It will happen at some point. It will happen at some point, and then you'll be right, and it will be good.
Got to keep plugging it.
Absolutely.
It's like when you're at the casino and you keep placing the same 10 on red. It's gonna hit red eventually. Yeah. I'll make back some of what I lost. Rez, who do you got scoring, and what's your final score, my friend?
I've got two, because I've spoken about being deluded and having belief and stuff. So my sort of deluded score is 4-1 Spurs. My sort of actual intellectual hat on, I would say Everton have actually got a very mean defense this season. So I think they've only conceded 9 goals, which is a low down on the conceding list. I reckon, though, with the fact that they've got Anthony Gordon out, I don't know if Calvert-Lewin come back or not, or if he's still injured, but they've got a number of injuries and they've got some suspensions. I don't think they're actually going to get on the score sheet this time, but I don't think that we're going to be able to breach them that much. I'm actually going to go for a 1-0 win, and Kane will get the goal. That's what I reckon. With the deluded one, it will be a Lloris hat-trick, and Sonny will get the other one. For the 4-1.
Lloris, get back in your box, man. Rez, not that I think you're
from his goal.
Oh wow, even more hat trick of those. You think the keeper would learn? For me, I want to say this in regards to your delusional hat, or the hat of wisdom that's preventing your deludedness. I'm going to say take that hat off, maybe tweak the goal scorers, and we're great. Because I think it's perfectly fine to dream, especially when you're playing a team like Everton, who was scratching and clawing their way out of the hole they dug all year. But Michael, do you have score predictions and goal scores, my friend?
I got 4-0 Spurs. Kane, Son with 2, and Richarlison scores his first Premier League goal for the club.
That's a nice little.
What about you?
I'm going 3-1. We just, for what, it's probably gonna be Owen goal, and Eric Dyer's gonna fart the ball into the net or something. I'm just playing Bobby K's son. Don't be upset with me. But I just think that we're too clumsy in the back to prevent them from scoring. As you saw against Frankfurt, it didn't matter how many chances. Eventually we're gonna dilly dally in the box and let you sneak 1 or 2 in. Because we're fun like that. So I think we'll definitely allow them to score, but I think it might just be kind of what we saw against Frankfurt. We'll go down 1, and then the team's going to wake the fuck up, and we're just going to get business done, and it's going to be another sunny rain of moisture. And I think it's going to be Sonny that I think he's going to get the hat trick, or he's going to get 2 and Kane 1. I could definitely see that, but I see Kane and Son hooking up on at least 2, regardless who scores. I see them getting each other 2. Maybe Richarlison gets that 3rd, and Sonny doesn't get the brace. But I see Sonny banging a few.
I hope so.
That's
I'd
just
love
me.
to see Richarlison get his first. I really would.
Me too.
I'm a big fan of Richarlison. Massive fan of Richarlison. I think he's got a lot to offer. He's not there yet, but he will come good. He will come good.
So going to the comments real quick, Phil P, happy Friday, Tottenham lovers and friends. Wanted to say happy Friday to you. And whenever he popped in the chat, the whole chat got filled with woo, woo. So big up yourself, Phil. Happy that you're here, my friend. Wikipedia says 4-1. So almost like you, Michael, but a little bit of me in there. He's got Son twice, Kane, and Lil Richie. So same goal scorers. So y'all are on the same page. Tom Markkinen, Richarlison hat trick coming. Okay, I would welcome it. I would like to see it. David Clarke's crystal ball has said Spurs 2, Everton 0. Kane 1, Richarlison 1. Sonny don't even get a goal. I'm going to say he assists both those goals for me to accept this answer, David Clarke. 10-inch Allen, loyal Soggy Undies member founder.
Everton or ass. Come on,
He's got
Alan.
1-1 Kane. He's a little Alan. Let's talk during the game. When we're banging him, I'm gonna be like, "What's up, Alan? What's up, Alan?"
Everton or ass.
Everton
We're
are
at
booty
home.
cheeks. And Michael, what do we do when we see some booty cheeks?
We clap them.
Clap them cheeks. So Alan, have
I
faith.
thought you meant you grab the cheeks and clap them together. Okay.
You can do that too.
You could do that. That's a form of clapping
Preference.
cheeks.
That's
It's
fun.
preference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun doing that.
And if you could do it on beat to your favorite song, maybe a nice little melody, you can make quite the tune.
Yeah.
Jamie says
go.
3-1, Sun 2, Kane 1. I love it. I love it, Jamie. Jaco 4-1, 2 for Sonny, 1 for Højbjerg, and 1 for Richie. Where's Kane?
Nice.
What did he do this game? That's my question. Where did Kane go? Bobby K says 3-0, Sonny, Decky, and Dyer. Decky playing?
Not Decky.
Not
Decky's not
Decky.
playing.
Not Decky.
So maybe he meant
I
Dyer
hope he
and Dyer.
does. Hey, maybe he will and he'll score. I would hope.
He's amazing. He is amazing. But speaking of amazing, this has been an amazing show. Alan, we do something here at the very end that we like to. Let's see. I have a couple more come in. Mark Cousins from Somerset Spurs. It better be 5-0 because I'm going. Let's go, Mark. You're gonna get them 5 goals. I would love it. Let's go, Mark. Get them 5 goals. Tricky one. Sam Lee says Spurs 3, Everton 0, Kulu, Kane, and Sonny.
I hope so, man. I hope Kulu plays.
We
You
will
guys are
cave them
giving me
cheeks in.
PTSD again of reading the news this morning, man. I want him back so bad.
Bro, fire the physio. That's just it. Fire the physio. Roman IVX says, we will cave their cheeks in, shatter them. Shatter those cheeks, my friend. 3-0. Out of 60 matches against Everton. Okay. David Clarke, I hope your crystal ball is right because you have us winning, and that's what I want to see. But the last thing we like to do here on this beautiful show that Michael just runs such a beautiful, tight ship, tighter than the Titanic. You know what I'm saying?
I hope it's not tighter than the Titanic because the Titanic sank, my friend.
No, that's because yeah.
Well, I would hope it would be tighter than the Titanic because it did sink. All right,
Hit that swerve before you come to
not a
the
high
iceberg.
bar we're setting though.
You see that iceberg hit swerve? Come on, skirt. Hit that. Anyway, what we like to do here, Alan, is we like to give our final thoughts, and it could be anything ranging from your love for Sonny or the fact that this show has helped you dive into the Sonny wetness pool 2 feet. You've got your snorkeling outfit ready, hopefully. But any final thoughts? Anything? It could be literally whatever you want to say before we end this stream.
Does it necessarily have to be about Spurs?
No.
Okay. Kylian Mbappe is an absolute twat and he is overrated. I can't stand the way he thinks he is bigger than football. He puts himself. I'm sorry, I just can't stand him. I really can't. Literally,
I
get
love
over
it.
yourself. You're not that important. Seriously, that's it, really.
That's a good final thought. Actually, I have a Real Madrid fan. He was actually in the chat earlier. Madarius, school friend of mine. He's a huge Madrid fan, and so he fucking hates Mbappe. And so every time there's something that comes out, I'm like, "What do you think of your boy?" And he's like, "Fuck him, shit club, shit person." I'm like, "Okay." I don't feel that strongly, but Rez, you got any final thoughts? I think he's a twat though. For the record, I would love him at Spurs. I think he's fantastic if he played for Spurs.
He's a good player. He's a good player, but he's not all that. You know, well done. You've beaten a bunch of French teams. Good for you. Where's your European trophies? If you're that good,
Yeah.
you know. No, the thing that I want to talk about very briefly is referees. They're all shit.
It doesn't matter where they come from. That guy at UEFA was horrible.
I've not seen a decent referee in decades now. Right? They're getting worse by the game. The one against Frankfurt was such turd. It was ridiculous.
Mhm.
It's an insult. It's an insult to people that pay money to go and watch football. To have a ref like that. The one against Brighton that we had on the weekend, just as dog shit. They're all dog shit. I'm going to address them directly. Referees, especially in this country, you're all dog shit. All of you. I'm going to look at the camera. You're all dog shit. Okay? Go and get a real job. And make space for people who might be able to do the job properly. Yeah? That's my closing message.
Hell yeah. So far we got fuck Mbappe, fuck the refs. Michael,
right, who
come
else?
on.
Who else?
Who we shooting at? Come on.
My one final thought is Son is going to return tomorrow, and he's going to return again next week, and then the week after that, and the week after that, and we're going to start to see the best of Heung-min Son soon. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. What about you, Jacob? Final thought, my friend.
My final thought. When the heavens open, the humidity subsides, the oceans part, the birds will sing, the sun will shine, the dew on the meadow will shine. Here's where I'm at. Heung-min Daddy has ascended. He's finally done visiting the heavens. He said, I'm ready to play with y'all now. He's back. But that's not my final thought. I just had to say that because I felt like that was something I needed to say. No, my final thought is honestly, I'm thankful for you, Michael. I'm thankful for Alan and Rez being here today. A lot of times my final thought either revolves around Sonny or just me being thankful for the life I've been afforded, the experiences I've had, and this new venture of YouTube and getting to meet people from all over the world. This is something that's special for me. So for me, I just want to say I'm thankful for you two down below. I'm thankful for you right there, buddy. Michael, I'm pointing at you, you fuck. Come on. Twinkle it. Come on.
Hold on.
There we go. Come on.
There we go.
Here. So I'm thankful for you also, Michael. I'm also thankful for everyone in the chat today. Thankful for whoever hit that like, hit that subscribe, who also voted in the poll. I want to end this thing before we end this stream. 24 votes came in for whose third leg showed the most. Winner, chicken dinner. Heung-min Daddy. Heung-man Daddy is the winner. And then tight. It was a tight race today, though. This is usually not this tight. Second place, we had Heung-min Heung. So, most of the people picked the right answer. And then 21% tied is King Kane / other or someone else so I can hate. I definitely try to, give the haters an option as well. They should be represented in full, and I like to do that as such. So my final thought is I'm thankful for everyone who also participated in that poll. And last but finally not least, everyone whose name has been scrolling down below this entire show. You are near and dear to my heart, to Michael's heart, to this channel's growth, this channel's sustained development, if you will. So I want to just say big up to everyone in the Soggy Undies Club. That's Alan, 10-inch, Sibley, and Reyes Jr. I want to say big up to everyone. Did I say 10-inch or Soggy?
Both. Yeah.
Big up to everyone in the.
And then he said Alan 10-inch.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
He's in the Soggy Undies Club.
That's where I get tripped up, but he's founded the Soggy Undies Club technically. And then we got the 10-inch club, Faraz, Goguma, Queen Elliot, Tottenham Till I Die, and C. Shearman. I love you all very much, as well as our official supporters, Scott M., James Joris, J. Co., and David. David was the newest. Oh, actually, James Joris was the newest one. David, your second newest. In the Lover's Lane, we also have Bobby K. Gina Kim signed up last night in C Cube. That's the cheapest. I said $1. Patreon said not to do $1, but I said, fuck you. We're doing it anyway. Because people just want to show their support. And, if you got $1 to spare a month, you can become in the Lover's Lane of our supporters group. So I'm thankful for y'all and everyone who's participated today.
Thankful all around. Thankful for you, Rez. Thankful for you, Alan, for coming on. Thank you so much for joining us today and letting us officially pop both of your cherries on this fantastic YouTube channel. But seriously, go check out both of their channels. Make sure you hit a like. Make sure you hit a subscribe as well. They have some very, very good podcasts and live streams. So make sure to keep it locked on our channel and theirs as well.
It's in the title. Click it in the title.
It is in the title. You can click it in the title. It makes it very easy for you to find their channels. But definitely thank you both so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. And that is our Friday show. Jacob, it's been a fun one, man. This was a good one. We had Champions League. We have Premier League now.
It's a great time.
Should be 2 wins out of 2 on the week, but For now, we can only wait and hope and see. Thank you so much for listening to another edition of the United Spurs of America podcast with your hosts, as always, Michael and Jacob. Want to thank Rez and Alan for joining us today. Want to thank you all for joining us in the chat on YouTube. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening or watching on Spotify, make sure to like us there and follow us. And then also on Twitch, if you're watching on Twitch, make sure to hit the subscribe or the follow, whatever you want to do. Donate bits and all that good jazz. If you're going to the game tomorrow, stay safe, but also be loud and be proud as well. Too. And until next week, big up the lads. And Jacob?
Come on, you Spurs. Sexy ass Sonny, come on. Quiz.
United Spurs of America with your hosts, Michael and Jacob.